this meeting to order. This is the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, October 29th, 2025. Well, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Benuti.
Present.
Commissioner Goodwin Dye is excused. Commissioner Griffiths.
Here.
Commissioner Gruber is excused. Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Stevens Gunn.
Present.
Commissioner Willis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any comments on the agenda or looking for a motion to approve the agenda?
Through the chair, I motion that we approve the agenda for October 29th, 2025 as presented.
Support.
Favorable motion to approve the agenda by Dr. Stevens Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda proceeds. Announcements and communications today?
None at this time, sir.
All right. Moving right along to the first item, this is a special use at 21380 Telegraph Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted, this is a application for a special land use at 21380 Telegraph Road. This is in the I-1 Industrial, is to operate a tow truck dealership. Their hours of operation are proposed to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. They did revise these after the conversation with the Planning Commission at the last meeting to provide themselves with a little more flexibility, as you indicated they should consider. Noted here, the property in question is split zoned. It's actually, the front part is zoned, Telegraph is I-1, the rear is P parking. That rear P parking area you'll see on the plan is going to remain in landscaping. Not going to be using that part. It is the Southfield Smart Corridor as far as the master plan goes. Aerial photo here of the site, one highlighted in blue, just showing the area where that's at. The building footprint is not changing. The pavement footprint is not changing. They are going to fix a few things on the site. This is the existing conditions, the building as it appears now. Just some, the top left is the driveway down the north side of the building, and there's the area down the south side of the building between it and the screening wall to the neighboring property, and then the front. This is the overall site plan. As you can see, they're adding a walkway from the sidewalk to the front entrance of the building, bike racks. They're going to update the ADA parking and provide a walkway to the front door to that as well. Restriping the parking lot. They are going to be doing repairs of the pavement as needed where those are in poor condition. Landscape features are going to be some additional landscaping along the front, and they're going to be doing some along the property line there on the north side, and restoring the landscape beds that are along the front of the building. And then there's some evergreens going in along the back of the property where it abuts the residential property to the east. The petitioner is present if they'd like to come forward. I will note, because this is I-1, the site plan is an administrative approval. We do have an application in for that, but that can't go forward until this body makes a recommendation to council, and council then approves the special land use.
Okay. Please let us know your name and address for the record, and then anything you'd like to add on your project.
Yes, my name is Marty Rocca. I'm the general manager of Worldwide Equipment Sales of Michigan. The address is 21380 Telegraph Road, Southfield, Michigan.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add about the project or this
We're just
location?
pretty excited to move to Southfield. We kind of targeted this particular area. This is the place that we really wanted to be, and we're looking forward to, we'll make any change we see, we'll make any changes that you require for us to get approved, and we'd like to move it as soon as possible.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I'm going to ask you to take a step back just until the public speaks. I'm going to open up the public hearing at this time for PSLU 25-0008. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing. Thank you. That's a formality. Please come back to the podium. Open up to the commission for any questions or comments. Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Again, I'd just like to thank you for considering Southfield to relocate your business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to thank you also, and just hopefully we get some big, heavy equipment in there too, but do what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Willis.
I have no questions, so this is probably a repeat, but I think this is a great fit, so I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burnett.
And I'll end all of the repeats. We're very happy that you're still going to stay in Southfield. It's a
Thank
great
you.
location for
It
you.
is beautiful.
So congratulations, and look forward to your success.
Appreciate it.
I don't want to go against everybody else at this time, so, no further comments from me. Planning Department, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We are recommending a favorable recommendation to the council of the special use request by Worldwide Equipment Sales of Michigan to operate a tow truck vehicle dealership at 21380 Telegraph. It does meet the general standards for special land use in the I-1 district, 1 through 6. 7, the approval based on the documents, facts, representations, stipulations submitted out with the application, placed on the record during the public hearing by the petitioner and their representatives. The conditions would be specific conditions: approval of the site plan by the city planner. As we noted, this is I-1, so it's an administrative site plan approval. Continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance, codes, laws, and statutes, and all work done on permits, plans, final inspections by the city. Hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, we're looking for a motion from the commission.
To the
I'd
chair.
like to make a motion
Sorry.
to the chair.
Commissioner Burnett.
I'd like to make a motion for PSLU 25-0008 approval.
Favorable, okay, thank you.
Second.
Got a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Bernucci, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Favorable recommendation. Next step is City Council, and then final site plan approval by the Planning Department.
There'll be an introduction at the city council meeting on November 10th, so that would be the next time this would appear, and then it would come back, I believe it's the 24th for their meeting for the public hearing and final action on the special land use. And I'll send you reminders as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hey,
Good
thank
luck.
you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is the amendment to Sustainable Southfield 2.0 Comprehensive Master Plan.
Hello, I'm Molly Lalone, the Executive Director for the Southfield Downtown Development Authority. My office is 18,000 West 9 Mile, Suite 320, Southfield, Michigan 48075. I started working in Southfield in January of 2024. I've been a DDA Director since 2007. I'm on the board of the Michigan Downtown Association. And I'm very happy to be here to talk to you about the strategic plan today. This is going to be the Southfield Downtown Development Authority strategic plan for the years 2025 through 2030 that we're asking to be adopted into the Sustainable Master Plan. The goals and objectives of the strategic plan are to elevate the district's visibility and reputation, to create a connected, walkable, and accessible district, to enhance the district's visual appeal and identity, and to stimulate economic growth. This is a chart in our strategic plan that talks about things that we can do immediately, things that we might do in the next 3 years, and things that are more of a long-term investment. This is our potential opportunities page. When you look at the Downtown Development Authority District, which is in the southeast corner of Southfield, bordering Oak Park and Detroit, you'll see that there's not very much public land in that area. So if we want to make changes, we need to convince property owners to make those changes. So what we've done is created some ideas of where things could take place, so that when we are talking to property owners and business owners, we have some information to give them. For this year, we have two different initiatives that we're working on. One is Cornerstone Connect, and the other is Build the Cornerstone. Cornerstone Connect is all about engagement, establishing a Cornerstone volunteer program, finding people who are interested in the infrastructure and making physical changes or maintaining physical areas, doing ribbon cuttings in partnership with the city, creating welcome packets for the new businesses, and having a lot of engagement events that are designed to bring people into the district in different ways. The first one is the Greet and Eat Engagement Series. This is really, that one has a food truck, and it's designed for us to be able to meet employees who work in the area. Our district has Henry Ford Health's Providence Hospital, which is the largest employer in Southfield, and we want to meet all of those employees. We have a small business friends tour, and the purpose of that one is to invite elected officials, national, state, county, and local, to come and talk to small businesses in our district. And then the third one is a mid-century modern tour, where we bring historic preservation specialists in to take a closer look at some of the special buildings we have in our district. Build the Cornerstone is strengthening the foundation of our district and our program. This includes physical changes and business and property support. And then going back to the idea that we need to influence others to do the things that we think would be beneficial, we would like to offer some grants for art, for branding and identity, and for facade improvements. And we are planning to work with the city for redevelopment liquor licenses. And that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Dr. Stevens-Gunn,
No, I don't think I have any at this time.
Commissioner Martin.
I love the
You did you have your publication. Do you plan on updating it, or is this, I mean, for the 2025 to 2030, this will be your...
This is our plan that we will be working from. The last bit where I was talking about the two main focuses that we were working on this year, that will be updated every year based on this plan and based on what we have finished and completed. I just want to tell you, this photo is during one of the Greet and Eat engagement series events, and we were celebrating first responders. This is at the OCC Southfield campus, and we were talking about all of the outreach activities that the fire department and the police department do. And they do an incredible amount of outreach. In addition to saving lives, putting out fires, and stopping crime, they are out in the community of an average of 2.88 events or projects going on every single week, all throughout the year. And I know really that's probably busier and sometimes not as busy, but it's a lot of outreach that our first responders do. So I wanted to celebrate that. So that's, and then there was a fire truck. I wanted to get on the fire truck and get a picture.
The only reason I was asking about updates is that in going through, we recently had some developments that I thought would be additional information, but I think it's a great project you've got together. The presentation and the booklet and that, I think is good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Willis.
Thank you. I think the last time you were here, you explained the advantage of incorporating the strategic plan into the city's master plan. What is that advantage?
When we apply for grants and we're looking for funding, having the same message across the board, knowing that the city is supporting the same things that the DDA is supporting makes a difference for funding.
Okay, so an immediate synergy because of two, okay, thank you.
Mr. Burnett?
I have no question, but I would like to thank you for this. It's well put together. It's really, really, and I love your pictures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. I think the mid-century modern tour sounds very interesting, and that's definitely something to keep focusing on. Has that taken place before, or was that's moving forward, or this particular version?
This particular version is new. As you may know, the mayor has done a mid-century modern tour for years.
Yeah.
So I did ask for his help, but we included the Reynolds building, the Reynolds aluminum headquarters. That building was included, and the historic Hudson's was included. And then we did do parts of the traditional tour that he has always done.
Okay, great. And then the facade grant program, that sounds like that's new, or I missed it, I guess?
All of the grants would be brand new.
Okay.
The DDA has not offered those in the past.
Is that funded, or you're seeking the funding to?
We would fund that. We have money in the budget to fund grants.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Anybody else?
I just had a question. I don't know if it pertains to this, but I was just recently, as Commissioner Martin, at the dog ribbon cutting. I wanted to know, will there be benches or anything for the people to sit down when they're in there? I've had a lot of people in my building to ask me that.
And that's a good question, but that is not in my district. I was
That's in
there.
Parks and Rec?
I was there, but I wasn't in, it's not in my district, so I don't have details about that particular part.
Okay, thank you.
Planner Crowe?
Yeah, I appreciate you streamlined your presentation, but I would like to add one or two things before it goes to council. If you don't mind, I think it's important because, as you said, there's some synergy between your strategic plan, our overall comprehensive master plan, and then the 9-line. So if you could include your map where it shows existing and planned non-motorized shared use pathways, and then you had some branding. So there's a couple pages, maybe one or two more slides, and I can work with you on that, but prior to going to council, I think it would be important to emphasize the coordination that we're doing. I know we have that meeting with OCC tomorrow, so we can share that one image too once we talk to them. That would just help them when this gets to council to show our coordination efforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do need to hold a public hearing before we make a recommendation.
This is a public hearing. I ask you to step at least 1 foot to the side. Open up the public hearing at this time. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing. You stepped 17 feet to the side.
Thanks, Bruce.
Is there a recommendation from the planning department on this item?
Yeah, well, this one's a little longer and a little more formal, but when we do master plan adoptions or amendments, we have kind of a more formal format because we have to list all the important dates that were involved because there's a state mandated process for updating the master plan. So I won't go through every one of these, but it basically just details the provisions of, we first had to do a notice of intent to plan to all the surrounding municipalities and utilities and railroads. And then we had to, once that had been sent out and we had the draft, which we already had, then we had to actually do another notification that the plan was available for review and give them 63 days. And then we had to notice this public hearing, and then it has to go from here to city council. So it really is just kind of detailing that we've gone through all the required steps of the process to get to where we are today. And we are recommending that the commission make a favorable recommendation to council on adopting this master plan amendment. And as noted, for all the proper reasons, like it's making sure we're coordinated with our capital spending and with our efforts on branding and promoting the community, that it's all a coordinated effort, that we're not pulling in different directions and thereby wasting resources and being less effective than we could be. So, yeah, it's a little more involved, a little more formal than we typically do, but it is the standard. I kind of looked at the last time we did an amendment, and this is pretty much the form.
Okay. With that, looking for, Commissioner Martin, go ahead.
I have a question for Planner Crowe. With the addition, with the remodeling and redevelopment of the hotel on J.O. Hudson Drive, as part, do you think that's something that could fit into this? To
That's
show
in our
that there's
district.
always expanded development?
So similar to our comprehensive plan, it's a 5-year plan, but we're supposed to review it every year and
Okay,
update
so-
it as needed. This will go through the same exercise.
Okay.
So as new development comes online or there's new opportunities, they'll do a yearly annual review for any amendments to the plan.
Okay.
And all I was mentioning, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Even since this plan was adopted, but that's why annually you look at the plan. I just would like a little more emphasis, it's all in the plan,
Yeah.
on the non-motorized tie-ins to the district.
Okay. Thank you. Motion to approve the amendment to the Sustainable Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan.
Support.
Okay, we got a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, it's favorable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, PTZA 25-0006. It's a zoning text amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As noted, this is a zoning text amendment. We are looking to update the public art requirement in the ordinance. Just some of the public art pieces here shown that have been installed under that requirement since it was adopted. We'll note that the requirement was initially adopted in 2016. It was set, our opinion now after having run it for almost a decade, is that the requirements were set a little low. As Planner Crowe indicated, federal construction projects have a 2% set aside in their budgets for our public art. So there is a standard for any federal public projects at that level. That doesn't seem to be a major impediment to those projects. We did note that, since 2016, there's been about approximately a 35% cumulative inflation rate. As Mr. Willis did note, that's somewhat baked into the cost of construction, but it really has seemed to dilute our ability to do additional public art. We're only taking in about $35,000 a year in donations, and the Public Arts Commission is a little, we get some other donations in mixed in with that, other than the ones from the requirement, but it's a tough climb even to maintain the existing art collection, let alone expand it. We're doing it, but it's a little dated, and I think arguably it may have been set a little low to initially, but we wanted to make sure we weren't going to be impairing projects, but now we're actually getting a lot of developers who are actually interested in doing the art rather than donating, because they see the value of making their property into a landmark. So this will mean if they do the art, they got to do a little more on their property. It's something a little more substantial, or they can split the difference. They can donate and do art, or they can donate. They have 3 options for meeting the requirement, and we've had people do all 3. Like Panda Express donated. They didn't even bat an eyelash. They're part of their corporate community involvement. They were like, yeah, that's great. We'll donate to your public art fund, no problems. Other companies we've had to really want to upscale that appearance. So we are looking to update that. Just consistent with the master plan goals, we always check that. Improving the public realm, promoting public welfare and public interest, establishing more physical works of art, and aligning that zoning ordinance with the master plan. It's always in there. Here's the actual change. So you're going from the small projects like the under $1 million, they're still exempt. That didn't change. 1.1 to 1.5 million will be 0.5%, and then 1.5 to 2 million, 2.5 million will be 1%, and then only those projects that are over 2.5 million will be at the higher 2%. So these are the larger projects that we're going to be looking at mostly impacting. So that would be, and the caps have gone up, because it used to be capped at, regardless of what your value was, you were capped at 25 grand. So that cap remains in place up to the 2.5 million. It only goes up to the 100,000 when you're above the 2.5 million. So, and public art requirements they can be sculptures, they can be murals, they can be a combination, they can be fountains or other substantial, like public plazas. The Public Arts Commission in the definition of the ordinance will have some flexibility there to kind of meet the needs of the project. Standards of approval, as I said, the public arts definition in the ordinance is pretty general, so there's a lot of options. And there are some projects, in addition to the $1 million, residential projects containing fewer than 4 units are exempt, and renovations of existing buildings with less than $1 million are also exempt. So it's generally not going to be the small residential projects or the smaller commercial projects that are going to be affected. So once again, we do have to hold a public hearing because this is a zoning amendment.
Okay. I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for PTZA 25-0006. That's the zoning text amendment regarding public art. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing. To the commission, any additional discussion on this item? Dr. Stevens, go.
As I said at our earlier meeting, I am just really enjoy riding around Southfield and enjoying the art. And it's so varied, it's so different, so unique. I've met some of the artists at different places, so they feel like it's a sense of community. So I really appreciate that. And I think that new businesses that are coming to our town want to be a part of that as well. So I support that and I support this initiative. The only question that I had is that the $2 million mark at 2%. If it's a federal project and they're required to do 2%, is it the same 2%?
Yeah, we wouldn't double dip on them.
Okay.
If they're putting 2% into art, they would meet the requirement.
Okay.
Also, federal projects are largely exempt from any local regulations because the feds exempted themselves. Like state projects, they're largely exempt from local regulations.
Okay.
Both bodies have pretty much exempted themselves from local regulation.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any comments or questions on this art?
Wake up.
Yeah, no comments. I think art is good. I appreciate it, and I think we need to continue it as much as possible, and this will support it.
Absolutely.
I think the $2 million, they're building $1 million houses now. And I think the $2 million cap is something we may be discussing sooner than.
Well, if it's less than 4 units of residential, it's exempt. So a single home would never be subject to this.
But what about an apartment building and so, again, no problems. It's just that I think we'll be visiting sooner. And I think the floor, I think you commented that probably will not be residential issue. I think all of those can, because of the way construction is going now, I think it's going to open the door for virtually anything. So, and with that, I think I support it. So, just curious about those two things.
Yeah, I absolutely support it. I was recently over where you have a bee, the bee garden or whatever. It's beautiful over there by, what is that, the one?
Town center, yeah.
Yeah.
Town
Yes,
Square, yeah.
one town square. It's
across the
absolutely beautiful. Anywhere you go, as Commissioner Gunn said, anywhere you go in Southfield, it's just beautiful, and especially those who ride their bikes or whatever, they get a much better view of what Southfield is about because you're moving slower. So I am always for art. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Through the chair, I had out-of-town guests in this weekend, and they were coming down the lodge and said, "What is those red poles?" I said, "It's the Red Pole Park." And I had to explain to them what it was, and we actually I brought them back, took down the service drive so they could see it. They were like, "Oh," and then they could see the butterflies on the other side.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
then it started to make sense. Initially, they were like, "What is that?" So again, that gives a conversation to people who are visiting our community too.
Right.
Well, then
The
if I
bee
could-
and the butterfly.
Yes.
If I can add, that's what I tell visitors to get off at that exit, see the red poles, that's where I live, think right. So,
Landmarks are important.
yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah, this is another thing, I remember when this started, there were some developers giving kickback on the art, and now there's enough of it around that it's you could say, like, everybody's doing it, you know, you can't, you know, somebody has to go first, but now it's actually building up to a nice amount. Same thing, there was always the argument against bike racks in the beginning, and now there's bike, you know, everybody biked, and now the public art too. So this is one of these things that's taken a few years, but it's really kind of blossoming into its own prominence now, which is nice to see. All right, so we've had the public hearing. Is there a recommendation from the planning department, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is a favorable recommendation for zoning text amendment PTZA 25-0006 to update the public art requirement. We are looking to raise that up for the larger projects to 2% to try to generate some more private art being installed where the public can see it, or more donations into the art fund so that the Arts Commission can work at getting more out into the public. It has been a very successful placemaking program. It really has transformed the perception of Southfield. So we are looking at proposed amendment. It meets the following goals and objectives: improve the public realm through creation of context-sensitive built environment, promote public welfare to serve public interest, convenience, enjoyment through the promotion of arts in Southfield, and establish more physical works of art in the public places throughout the city, which are all goals of the master plan.
Do we have a motion from the planning commission?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to the chair. I'd like to make a favorable motion for PTZA 25-0006.
Second.
Okay, we've got a favorable recommendation from Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Martin. This is for the zoning text amendment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion proceeds. Thank you. Next item is another zoning text amendment. This is PTZA 25-0007.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a zoning text amendment to define and establish some regulations for firearm sales establishments, and firearm shooting ranges. We discovered recently when we had a issue where a firearms shop was going to be going in next to a daycare that we didn't really have specific regulations for firearms-related uses. Firearms sales establishments were effectively just treated as like any other retail use. They were just in the general retail category. And that turned out not to be, to have unintended consequences. Fortunately, those have been resolved outside of this for that particular issue, but it was time that we updated the code with regard to these provisions. Interestingly, it's actually pretty rare for communities to have these kinds of regulations. We looked at it, and it was only a handful of communities that actually specifically regulate these as separate uses. A growing number, but out of like, I think 1,300 local governments that have zoning, it was, I think, less than 80 total that had any regulations related to firearms in their zoning ordinance. Most of the regulations were related to carrying firearms, not the sales or shooting ranges. So it's, while we were a little behind on the local issue, we're actually kind of ahead of the statewide thinking on this one a little bit. We did look at what other communities were doing, but the main thing we're going to do is, going to define these terms, and then we're going to establish where these uses are permitted. So looking at the goals and objectives, trying to make it a more attractive place to live for younger families. Obviously, putting these near schools and daycares was causing some concern in the community. Retaining neighborhood character, quality of the areas, and all elements of the built environment to kind of be compatible and harmonious. Sort of general goals and objectives of the master plan. So with the recommendation, we are looking to get these rules on the books and get them regulated. One of the things this is since we last spoke to you, is we realized that our definition of child care center, which is one of the things we want to have a separate use, was a little out of date. It's actually specifically said preschool age children, but didn't define that. And what we found out looking at the state regulations is child care centers, which have to be licensed by the state, they have it as any child under 13 that's in this kind of care, because there are latchkey programs where kids who are in elementary school are in child care in the summer or in the evening or later in the afternoon. So we updated this definition to actually specifically reference the state law that licenses these facilities, and to mimic the language with regard to children under 13 years of age in the state law, and add the term preschool to our list of child care center, preschool, daycare center, day nursery, nursery school, parent cooperative preschool, or play group, because all of these are basically before and after programs and drop-in centers are all regulated as child care centers by the state. I was surprised when my kid was in the latchkey program in the public schools. The latchkey programs inside the public schools are licensed as child care centers. They're not considered part of the school for their licensing, interestingly. So this is really just updating that definition to make sure we're consistent with state law. And then looking at other definitions, we have the firearm. We're actually just referencing the firearm definition that's in the General Code of Ordinance and the police regulations, because having inconsistent definitions of firearms could lead to its own problems. And then firearm sales establishment, also known as a firearms dealer or gun shop. Really, we're talking about any place that sells firearms, firearm accessories, ammunition, or stores them or rents them or repairs them. The one exception is firearm sales utilizing less than 30% of the floor area of another principal permitted use are considered accessory to that use and regulated under provisions for that use. So say if you have a Dick's Sporting Good and they have a small firearm section, it would be regulated as a retail sporting goods store rather than as a firearm retail establishment. Same thing if you had a Cabela's or I guess a Walmart or a Target if they sell firearms. As long as it doesn't exceed 30% of the floor area and is the accessory to a principal permitted use, then it wouldn't fall under this definition and set of rules. That's a pretty common exception we see a lot, just because these large sporting goods stores, it's really not a lot of their floor area. Typically it's under 10 or 15%. And then firearm shooting range we found also wasn't a defined use, even though we have one in town. And we did specifically look at some definitions for that one. It's an enclosed building specifically designed for safe discharge of firearms, for purposes of sports shooting, target practice, or law enforcement training. Outdoor ranges are not permitted within city limits, which for obvious reasons, people fire into the air and it lands somewhere. So for the firearms sales establishment, we did look at a 500-foot separation from residentially zoned districts or uses, religious institutions, or parks, 1,000-foot separation of a school or a child care center, and 1,500 feet from any pawn shop, alternative financial services establishment, or other firearm sales establishment. And we did leave the security requirements in. This is similar to what we require for marijuana facilities, that they have a security plan that's submitted with their application reviewed by the chief of police. Shooting ranges, similar separation requirements, similar security requirements. We did add the provision that outdoor ranges were not permitted within the city limits. Already under state and federal law, an outdoor range within the city limits would be unlikely to get approved, but this way we're not leaving a gap in the code. It's covered. And then that was for the IL district. The same regulations are going into the I-1 district, so there's two districts where these are going to be allowed as special land uses. It'd be the IL and the I-1 on 8 Mile. So it's a special land use along 8 Mile where they have in that area alone, not the I-1 of Telegraph. Same regulations as in the IL. And then we did do a mapping exercise. This is preliminary. It's not, we'd have to check it every time someone applies, because you can get a child care center moving into an area, or a school or a religious institution could move into an area close to one of these and you could eliminate it. But based on the information we have right now, the blue are what you see are the parcels that would qualify for potential firearm sales or shooting ranges. So it's mostly along the blue ones, so mostly along 8 Mile and a little bit up on Bridge Street, up on the far left there. So, yeah. Those are all IL or I-1 zoned properties, and they're outside of the buffers. So the yellow buffer you see is all 500 foot from residential. The green is 500 foot from a park. And then you've got the orange, which is 1,000 foot from child care centers. And the purple is 1,000 foot from a school. So we did have we actually even had that gray, which is the buffer from the alternative financial institutions pawn shop. So this is what initially looks like it's left. We did a similar map when we did marijuana facilities like this, and it's actually very similar areas that they're allowed in. I-1, IL, generally with the similar separations. We're trying to stay consistent on those buffers across uses that we use them on. It just makes the ordinance more defensible. But this would put such uses mainly down on or off of 8 Mile. in that end of the city and in areas that are primarily a light industrial or general industrial. But we did want to do an exercise. First of all, we wanted to make sure there were some parcels available, so we weren't doing exclusionary zoning, but also we wanted to make sure there were enough potentially viable parcels that a legitimate business could find somewhere to operate. So this appears to provide a fair number of parcels that are potentially viable. Some of them have buildings, some don't, but they could build a building, potentially. So it is a public hearing. We do have to have a public hearing for this because it is a zoning.
I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for PTZA 25-0007, the zoning text amendment. See no members of the public present. Close the public hearing. Commission, any additional comments or questions? Dr. Stevens?
No questions.
Commissioner Martin?
We have the similar specifications for marijuana facilities, but gun and gun shops aren't included, or aren't separated or segregated from the gun shop, marijuana and.
Yeah, I believe the marijuana shop, they're not specifically segregated from firearms uses. They are segregated from other uses, including schools, residential.
Right.
Yeah,
I believe, though, marijuana shops are excluded from being adjacent to firearms.
Yeah, there is a separation.
That's the
from-
separation.
That's
what
okay,
you're
that-
referring
Yeah,
to.
there is a separation for marijuana from firearms.
Okay, yeah, all right. I thought so, but I wasn't. Thank you. That was.
Commissioner Rose?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First of all, the language adequate security plan, I like the language, but is this going to be a formal requirement? Is this a requirement that a person is going to submit a plan if they have any type of a firearms facility? Will it be reviewed by someone, and is that planning, is that public safety?
Yeah, if I could.
Okay.
So typically, someone would get a zoning approval or compliance letter if they want to move in someplace. Then we would vet that, and we would say, well, you need to have a special land use, and here's the process.
But we as
But
planning?
Planning first. And then as part of the special land use process, we would vet it with all the other departments, including the police department, that would look at it for security issues. So that's already part of the process. Fire department, police department, engineering, planning, and building, and sometimes legal, all would review it in the preliminary stages as it's going through the process. But we would, planning department, as I stated before, we get the initial inquiry about whether or not a use is permitted in a specific location. If it's clear in the ordinance, then we can issue a zoning approval or zoning compliance letter. If it's unclear, we consult with the building official because he has the legal authority to interpret the ordinance. If someone doesn't like my interpretation or the building official, they can appeal to the zoning board of appeals. So there's like 3 steps in the process where there's someone else reviewing it. And then we would consult with the city attorney anywhere during that process if something's unclear.
Okay.
So in this particular instance, there was nothing defined as far as firearms. And that was vetted, and we would look for, if there's a use in a particular district, we would say, well, it's only permitted in this district where it's spelled out. If it's ambiguous, then we look at what's a similar use to the one that's being proposed. And then in this particular case, it was retail, cash and carry.
Okay.
That was vetted with the building official, and the building official agreed that in this particular case, it's similar to retail. We also had some previous correspondence with the legal department on how these are treated. And that's the same process that we would do with any particular use that's not identified in the ordinance.
Okay. My second question is not as practical. While we were at the dog park, someone flew a drone over here. And one of the things I've been impressed with is the way Ukraine is now using drones as weapons. And ordinarily, it is not a weapon. It is not a thing that, but I guess my question is, for the kinds of things that will come in the future, how do you address it? Or do you wait until something happens? Or is there,
Well, with regard to drones, they're licensed by the Federal Aviation
Okay.
Administration, so they have certain rules. Our office has been working with other city departments to put regulations in place because we have been contacted about fly zones for drones and for package delivery. So there's the umbrella organization of the FAA. There's certain training and requirements to operate a drone. The drone that you saw was being operated by Cable 15.
okay,
The police department has their own drones. But private entrepreneurs who are using the drones, first they're licensed by the FAA, and then we're looking at what potential authority or restrictions that we can put on them. Now, I believe there's certain restrictions about drones can't be flown over large gatherings of crowds because of security issues. But we know that Amazon and others have been testing drone deliveries. I believe Taco Bell has a college town that they've been. We are being prepared as best we can to put regulations in place to protect
okay.
our residents. So we've already been in front of this, and this has been discussed over the last several years.
Okay, and drones was only my example. There are things called rail guns, and there are laser guns, and there
Sure.
are all types of other developments.
Sure. And just remember, this is about the sale of,
Okay.
not the use of. Because there's already state and federal laws regarding the use of these things.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And
I have
the nice
no-
thing about referencing the police ordinance for the definition of firearm is as that definition gets updated in state law and in the police ordinance, it will automatically be updated in the zoning ordinance by reference. So we wouldn't have a place where like the definitions would go out of sync.
Okay,
And I would suspect that the state law and the police ordinance will get updated before the zoning ordinance would, because generally those kind of things roll downhill from the feds and state down, and the police are updating their ordinance and definitions to match the state laws that enable them to do enforcement.
okay. Thanks.
Well, I really think this is really good that you're doing this forward, because I think we're probably the first ones who had to address this kind of thing. So I think other communities are going to be looking at what we're doing, and they're going to piggyback off of us. And kudos to you for getting ahead of all this, because it could have been really a bad situation.
You know, and I know Mr. Payson mentioned some statistics. I think it's closer to over 1,700 municipalities have zoning regulations. Of that, only about 70 to 80 have anything on the books with firearms. And most of those are dealing with firearm possession and carry. Of those, only 12 to 13 that we've identified have regulations with separation with firearms and other uses. And of those, only 3 call out child care centers. So we're not in the minority. There was references, well, this happened in Berkeley a year ago. Why didn't you follow that? Well, Berkeley was in the same situation where a firearms retailer was going to open up, but in this case, adjacent to the high school. But the federal law exempts firearm establishments from schools. So the 1,000-foot separation wouldn't have been applied anyways. And the city of Berkeley was inundated with people upset, and they said, unfortunately, they are permitted. And then privately, that person withdrew. Berkeley then put something on the books similar to us, but what they put on the books does not address childcare. So even in that scenario, their focus was on schools and separation. So yes, I wish this was addressed years ago when Action Impact was first approved on 8 Mile. Nobody again thought about, hey, this could happen again in the future. And I think that was approved 4-3 with the grudgingly, well, if it's going to go anywhere, let's do it on 8 Mile. But they never addressed the definitions or any future use at the time. So we're trying to get ahead of this. That's why we put the moratorium in place. We're trying to be as comprehensive as we can. Hindsight's always 2020. And this might need to be tweaked just like the medical marijuana ordinances. and we'll just keep an eye on it. So we feel that this is comprehensive and reasonable and should be under scrutiny of the test of being fair and reasonable, that it's not so restrictive that someone can't go anywhere. Now, the only other thing I'll say is that as part of this process, working with the building official, we have to identify existing non-conforming shops. So we have the action impact, that's one, and I believe we have up to 7 other that are internet sales out of their home or office that have federal firearms from the alcohol, tobacco, and what's the other one? Firearms. Licensing. Those will become legal non-conforming once this gets adopted. They can't expand or enlarge. So we've already tracked those, and some of those are even questionable whether they were lawfully established. So that's the second part of this. Once this gets approved, we'll be working with the building department to establish legal non-conforming uses.
Actually, the ATF should be able to tell you, because they have to have a license from ATF.
Well, they have a list, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That's the list that we consulted. But when we look at our own records,
If they,
have they received a certificate of occupancy? Are they in compliance with all their inspections? And there was 1 or 2 sites that were questionable as to whether or not they were legally permitted, even though they got their license.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that we're vetting.
If I have a question, what's going on then with the place on 12 and?
Well, the private parties came to an agreement that the shop would not open at that location.
Okay,
They will be continue to operate out of their existing legal office.
okay.
And once these regulations are enacted and put in place, we will assist them to find locations that are compliant with the ordinance. Now, that's going to be a private market decision where they want to locate, but at least we can point them to the right locations that would be eligible. But that all got resolved through private negotiations. No, the sign was removed as of last Wednesday. I believe their agreement was executed a week ago Monday, and the sign was removed the following Wednesday.
Okay.
We don't know the details other than they worked it out.
And the business still wants to maintain a business in Southfield?
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting. That was going to be my question of just, did your research indicate how many of these types of uses are here? You said about less than 10
Yes.
total? Okay.
There was only one commercial operator that was Action Impact, where they have retail and they have the gun shop. The other up to 7 were internet firearms sale by appointment only, either through an office or home. So there's no other retail operators, the cash and carry type.
Okay.
And under this revised ordinance, the ones that were previously approved in office and home as internet sales only would not be allowed in those locations anymore. That's why they become legal non-conforming. They can't expand. No one else could go in with that same use either, because if you're not in the I-1 or IL in those areas we showed on the map, you no longer would qualify in that location. So they're fine. They can continue to legally operate for as long as they stay within the bounds of their approvals. It's just they can't. If they want to expand, they're going to have to move.
All right. Is there a recommendation from the planning department on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we are looking for a favorable recommendation for PTZA 25-0007, amending the text of the zoning ordinance definitions and the general business article, the light industrial article, and the industrial districts article to provide for regulations for firearm sales and establishments and firearm shooting ranges. The city is seeking to regulate the location and operation of firearm sales establishments and firearm shooting ranges in a manner that protects public safety, ensures adequate separation from sensitive uses, and includes a formal process for community notification. And the proposed amendment will promote the orderly development of the community as necessary to ensure health, safety, and welfare of the community.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a recommendation from the Planning Commission?
To the chair, motion to approve PTZA 25-0007.
Support.
Okay, we've got a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Martin on PTZA 25-0007, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No?
To
Okay.
the chair, I'd like to make a comment on PTZA 25-007.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the planning commission, the planners should be commended on the action and activity and the speed in which they reacted to the situation that caused this need and the review of it. They did an excellent job in doing it. Thank you.
Support.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. As I stated last time, it was all hands on deck, including Mr. Bryce, who did a lot of the research, but everybody contributed to it. And based on your recommendations, now this will be vetted with the building department, police department, fire department, legal before it goes to city council.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you again.
All right. Next item was meeting minutes for September 10th and 24th of this year.
To the chair, motion to approve the minutes of the planning commission study meeting for September 10th, and the motion to approve the regular meeting draft minutes of September 24th with the corrections to, after 24 years, to say Blue Cross is 2 words, not one. Blue, and Blue Shield is 2 words. Blue Shield. And at 24 years of government interactions, and that's very important to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan. Thank you.
Okay. Got a favorable recommendation to approve the minutes with the corrections noted by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Meeting minutes approved. This is the public comment portion of the meeting. I'd like to open up public comment at this time. There were no sign-ins on the public comment sheet. I see no members of the public present currently. Close the public comment portion. Next is the council items update.
Yeah, I was at the meeting on Monday. Mr. Martin was there as well. 22108 West High Mile, the Eagle Landscaping Project, the rezoning and the special land use were both approved by council. They'll need to enact that rezoning at their next regular meeting, November 24th, and then it'll be published thereafter and be official. We do have an administrative site plan. We're going to pair up with those as it wraps up as well. They need to go to the zoning board for a couple of waivers, which I believe is also scheduled for November. So hopefully by December, we'll have this thing all tied up with a bow and able to proceed to permitting. And finally, it's been more than a year, hopefully get them into a compliant state with their site, with permits and inspections and stormwater corrections. But it's good to get at least to that point. Second item is the 2700 to 300 West 11 Mile, the conversion of the 2 towers to office towers to multifamily from the Blue Cross Blue Shield site. That was approved by council. As with this body, the council was glad to see those buildings getting a new use and was pretty enthusiastic. Matter of fact, there was an economic development package that went along with this that council also approved. So they're highly supportive of the project, I think it'd be fair to say. And then the PTZA 25-0005, public right-of-way fencing amendment also passed. That one has to be enacted as well in November and then become official, but council had kind of some of the same questions the commission had, like how is this going to be enforced, how are people going to be notified, and we went over that and what engineering public works is going to do in terms of communication with those residents. The fence replacements have actually already begun in some areas, so they'll be doing some this fall and then finishing up next spring. So that this will be in place, hopefully to help us make sure those fences last as long and as good a shape as they can. That was the 3 items that were.
Okay.
To the chair, I have a question for the department.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, like we're getting the council item updates, that's really, really good. I'd like to suggest that maybe you could provide us with the project updates. For example, the building on Northland Drive, is it? The hotel conversion, I see them over there working, so that's kind of cool. But then other projects, the Ameritech building on the Service Drive, they're not doing anything. So, you know, when the projects start, I would really love to know that they've started, because I see them, but it's a question, you know, it's like, are they working on it, or are they not working on it? So it would be really great if we could learn when they start these projects.
Well, I'll say that within reason, because as you know, we go through the site plan review process. After the site plan's been approved, many times they have to go through engineering and building. That could take anywhere from 3 months to a year before they pull their permits. We would find out when when the building permit is issued, and then only when the certificate of occupancy is requested when we get a final inspection.
Okay.
There could be 1 year, 18 months, 2 years
Okay.
in between.
Okay.
So just like you, sometimes I'm driving around, month after month, I see no activity. I might go away for a week, I come back, and then there's activity.
Okay.
We don't get a special prompt or notice, hey, they've been working in there.
Okay.
Only in the beginning of the process and at the very end,
Okay.
when they request a site inspection. Now, just like you, if I see something, I'm curious, I might ask, or if they have some follow-up. But if you think about all the projects that we approve here, we do 10 times as much as administratively. So there's multiple projects, and it's hard to keep track of everything.
Okay.
And a lot of times, again, I'm surprised that it might take a year, year and a half. Sometimes it's financing. Sometimes we know contractors come and go. So they don't always go as smoothly. It's not like we have this big tickler board that we know what's happening at any time.
Makes sense.
But we can try, I think it'd be easier if you asked us on specific projects. You could ask us during the study meeting, we can follow up 2 weeks later.
Sounds good. Okay, got one other question. On Southfield Road, the bus stops, especially those that are not covered and they're off the road, I've seen people, there's no place for them to sit. There's between 10 Mile and Mount Vernon, it's hard for them to get from the walkway to the street. Are there any plans in place?
Well, as I've stated before, there's over 360 bus stops. We've upgraded over 60% of them.
Yep.
We recently received $200,000 grant. We do 12 to 15 a year. We were able to do almost 50 this year. So we keep ticking along. Now, Southfield Road is the Road Commission of Oakland County. Many of the roads have jurisdictions, either the Road Commission of Oakland County or MDOT. We try to do the city ones first, but based on a priority. Because and Mr. Bolin will tell you about the permitting requirements. And then in some cases, on Southfield Road, there's not enough right-of-way to actually put the bench or the key walk in between the curb and the sidewalk. Then that means we have to negotiate for easements and pay for easements.
Okay.
So we've been trying, based on our priority list, based on our need, and also ease of installation, focusing on those. There's some are just not practical.
Okay.
The grade or the right-of-way is not wide enough for us to actually do every stop.
Okay.
But we've been chipping along since 2016.
Okay.
And that doesn't include the pedestrian amenities, like you said. We call them the respite stations, the bench and the trash, that aren't specifically part of a bus stop, but we try to be eighth of a mile strategic along the trails.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add the comment, well, 2 comments. Construction takes a long time and financing is difficult, and then there's environmental hazards and hoops and all the things. But this 11-mile conversion of very large office buildings to a lot of residential units is going to be, it could be, could kind of put the city on the map. It's been this trendy topic since COVID. You know, everybody left the big offices. What are we going to do? In places where land is very expensive, like New York's and the other coasts, they've already done it. But if they can do it here, it's going to be a really big example and a case study. And we're a city that has a lot of big, probably outdated office buildings. So I think it's going to be huge. They sound like they could move fast. Hopefully they do. I think that's going to be a real good thing for everybody on that. So that's one I'm for sure interested to see. You know, but it's still going to take. They said like 1 year. It's going to take 2, 3.
I think they said 18 months.
18 months, yeah.
Okay.
That's great. If they can do it, I'll believe it when I see it.
Then I do have one, the theater church conversion at 12 between Telegraph and,
Star Theater.
yeah, just wondering if,
Well, I don't want to get into too much, but if you believe everything you read in the paper, there was, let's say, shenanigans happening between the
Yep.
church and the pastor and how it got transferred. And I think that has tied up the redevelopment of that site. There is, you'll be seeing soon enough a major development taking place in that proximity. You'll see that next month, and that'll help explain some of the things that are going on.
okay.
One other comment. You were talking about plan, projects starting that. I noticed one of the projects we had gone through, something I came back and asked Tom about it, we found out they were doing different than what they were approved to do. So it's just in driving through the city and seeing things, that we did a project, you know, we covered a plan, and the plan wasn't being followed. You called Tom and asked him about it, and he found out they added a story to the gas station at Tin and Telegraph. And
Which is going to become a problem when they ask for their certificate of occupancy.
Yeah,
They have to give us
because it wasn't
as-built.
I actually drove by there the other day, and I said, when they come and ask for us to inspect it, we can say, this doesn't comply with what was
Yeah.
approved.
yeah,
You could, maybe you do an amendment, maybe you do an as-built, but as is, we're not signing off on it until you get your compliance.
also, they started doing stuff at the where the Hayes Market is on 9 Mile and
Yes.
Telegraph. And it looks funny. I went through by there at night one night, but I have to go back by and look at it, but it
You
doesn't
know,
look like.
again, I just like to say is that I prefer some of this, we do it during a study session, and we can
Gotcha.
answer.
Yeah.
We can better be prepared to answer. I don't want to have us answer stuff off the cuff.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, so I'd rather, if you got some questions, send us an email, we can investigate, we can come back prepared to tell you the status of the review.
yeah.
Sounds good. Miscellaneous, we've got November 5th meeting, November 12th meeting, recommended for cancellation, and then the regular meeting on the 19th next month.
Right. If we don't really have any extra business we need to do on the 12th, so we are recommending cancellation of that meeting.
Through the chair?
Support?
I recommend that we accept the recommendation to cancel the meeting on November the 12th.
Support.
Or,
We've got a motion to recommend cancellation of the November 12th long-range study meeting by Dr. Stevens Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor of canceling that meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, great.
One last comment. So sometimes there doesn't seem to be any progress, and then all of a sudden we get a bunch at a time. And I know some of you have attended, but a week and a half ago, we had the ribbon cutting at the Losser Woods Dog Park.
Yes.
And we just received a grant, DTE tree grant, so we're going to be planting a dozen or so trees. There's always going to be additional things. Last Friday, they had the Beechwoods Park ribbon cutting. And then this past Monday, we had the ribbon cutting for the mural that we received from the DIA at the Arts and Activities Building. So we've had some successes that have finally come to fruition. And, thank you again for all your hard work and our team. Sometimes it takes years or months of coordination behind the scene before we finally get to the finish line. But we've got some other major announcements coming, so we've been on a good streak of good news lately.
If you haven't seen that goldfinch mural over by the tennis courts, it's pretty fantastic, particularly in the morning light. If you can see it before noon when the sun's hitting it, it pops. It's great.
And what's amazing is the artist did it all with spray paint.
Yes.
And it has that photorealism.
Yeah, with the spray paint, it's really interesting. You get close, you can see where he's
really
feathered it,
amazing.
but like when you stand back, it looks like a photo. It's kind of astonishing.
Very good.
And we got the furnishings out at the promenade, and we just got approved for the lighting, so that is going to be coming too.
Yes. Any further comments?
I have a question. Well, no comment.
Through the chair,
Second.
I'd like to propose that we adjourn the meeting.
Agreed. Motion or recommendation for adjournment by Dr. Stevens-Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor? All right. Meeting
Adjourned.
adjourned.
Thank you.